Well, hey everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. I am Mr. John, and we have been talking, it seems like for a long time, about Moses and the Israelites wandering through the desert. And if you remember last week, they got to the promised land, and they were standing outside of the promised land, and they actually sent in 12 spies to go in and check it out. And they came back, they had like the largest fruit ever. You ever gone to the supermarket and you got to pick through all the fruit and there is just like the biggest apple or the biggest bunch of grapes and you got to have them? Well, they brought some of that size fruit back and to show everybody, and everybody got super excited for just a minute because then the spies started going, well, you see the fruit? Now imagine the people that they have to feed with this fruit. They're big, they're huge, and we look like grasshoppers when we stand next to them. We can't make it over there. 10 of the spies actually said things like that. And 2 of the spies, one named Caleb and one named Joshua, said, dude, we've been trusting God to get us through all this way. He's got us. You cannot believe all the stuff he's done. We crossed the Red Sea on dry land. God closed it up on top of the chariots. We've had food. We've had water. We've had everything that we desire. And you don't trust God now? Well, God hears this because the people start going to Moses saying, Moses, come on, dude. We can't survive out here. Why did you bring us out of Egypt? Why? And this doubt, not trusting God, did not make God very happy. And he proclaims to Moses that this generation of people will not get to go into the promised land. They will have to wander around in the desert for another 40 years. Now, God still takes care of them. He gives them water, gives them food, their clothes, they stay kept, they don't wear out. But this generation will end up getting old and passing away, and their kids will be allowed to go into the promised land. So they wander for 40 years, and they come back to the promised land. And so now we understand and we remember that Moses was not going to be able to go into the promised land. So he goes up onto a mount named Mount Nebo, and he is up there and he is looking up and he can see the promised land, but it's not long before Moses ends up passing away. And they end up needing a new leader. But that leader has already been found. God has appointed one of the greatest leaders and tacticians of all time in the Bible. And his name was Joshua. Joshua was the next leader to take on the Israelites next, going on and into the promised land. But we're going to talk a little bit about that next time. But I want to talk about leaders. Do you know that you get a lot of different leaders in your life? About every year, you get a new leader as a teacher. Or you may get multiple leaders. The older you kind of get more teachers and more classes. You might get a math teacher, an English teacher, a science teacher. You might get multiple teachers. Each one of these teachers leads your class. How about coaches? Coaches too, they lead your classes. Well, we kind of have those teachers that sometimes aren't the best for us. Maybe they don't relate to us. Maybe they don't understand you. Maybe they are really hard and you don't understand them. Coaches, some coaches can be kind of drill instructor types. Some are just real fun and goofy type coaches. And so we kind of can assimilate to different coaches. Leaders will come and go in your lifetime. Some, like I said, we don't get along with or we don't understand or just don't seem to be very good teachers or coaches. Or bosses. You might get a boss. You might have a summer job and have a boss. I don't know. But We need to understand that we are to follow our leadership. We may not like every leader we get. And that takes me a little bit to getting that teacher that we don't like. What do? Do we sit there and just whine and complain and, oh, it sounds a little bit like the Israelites, right? They constantly complained to Moses. They blamed Moses for all the hardships that they had. And he led them. He provided for them. And it wasn't him providing, but he went to God and said, God, they need water. They need food. They need this. And then God would provide. A great leader looks out for his people. And Moses did a great job of looking out for his people. And your teachers, they're looking out for you. You may not think they are. Oh, this one gives me so much homework. I just can't stay, But that is the way this teacher is trying to build you up to get you to where you can go on to the next year. Because we know that usually school, you learn addition, right? You do 2 plus 2 is 4. And that leads you to the next level of doing subtraction. 4 minus 2 is 2, right? And then you go into multiplication and division, and you get into more and more higher degrees of math, and each teacher teaches this higher degree of math. But you teach a basic thing, and then you go up. Well, Moses was teaching along the way that they were to trust God. And it was really hard for the Israelites. We talked so much about how almost every time the Israelites would sit there and complain and said they were better off in Egypt. They thought what they had in the past, staying at this level, was good. And it's because we're familiar with that. We get a comfort about it. No matter how it is, we don't like it, we like it. It's just comfortable. And that's where the Israelites, that's why they constantly complain. They were comfortable with that. Well, we're going to see how they get comfortable with a new leader who's going to stretch them a little bit more in doing some things that God wants them to do and needs them to do coming up. And that Joshua is going to be one heck of a good leader. He's strong and he is courageous, and we will see that. So guys, I hope you're studying your verses. I hope you're having a good time in school. Hey, we know that the holidays are coming up, and I hope you are preparing yourself for the season that Jesus comes to be born. And we're going to be talking more about that down the road, but we're going to hang with Joshua for just a bit. Guys, I hope you're having a great week. I hope you're having a great month. Thanksgiving's coming up. Hey, turkey legs. We'll talk to you later. Memorize the verse. Bye. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. Hebrews 10:23.